Welcome to the Brainstorm. I'm Alex Kobe. We have a very special episode. We're going to be meeting the team. I'm here met with Mia De Llano.
Yes.
And she is one of our personal injury attorneys here at Daly Black. And we're just going to sit down and have a moment with Mia and get to know her and get to know what makes her tick. Thank you for coming on, Mia.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
So let's just get some foundational stuff done first. So where are you from? Tell me a little bit about where you grew up and your background.
Okay, so I'm from Laredo, Texas. That, for those that don't know, that is on the Texas-Mexico border. It's about 5 hours from Houston. And yeah, I was living there until I was about 18 and graduated from high school. Left to Texas A&M for college.
All right.
Then Baylor for law school. And now I'm here in Houston, but Laredo will always be my home.
Do you still have family there? Is that where your family is?
Yes.
Okay.
So most of my family is in Laredo. I have a good amount of family in San Antonio, Texas, and I have some extended family here in Houston. So I'm still able to see some family sometimes.
Well, that's good. Yeah, family is important. All right. So you said you went to Baylor for law school.
Yes, I did.
So tell me a little bit about that process in deciding to go to law school and take that commitment and really lean into being an attorney.
Well, I decided I wanted to be an attorney my senior year of high school. I was at a high school that was, it's a magnet high school, so it kind of specializes in a certain profession. And I was at a medical health science magnet high school, so that's obviously not what I'm doing right now. But being in that program helped me realize that I didn't want to do that. I didn't really see myself in any of the professions we were learning about. We did weekly rotations where we would shadow a different medical professional, and I never really clicked with any of the professions that I shadowed. And as I was filling out my applications for college, I was, having to select the major that I wanted to study. And I ended up going with English after a lot of thought and with the intention of going to law school. I was in debate. I liked to read. I liked to write. It just kind of seemed like it made sense. And there's still the aspect of helping people in times of need. That is probably why I wanted to be a doctor. Okay.
So to recap, so you had a kind of personal intrinsic want to help people with your chosen profession.
Yes.
And because of your experience at the high school with the medical field, you decided that wasn't for you. And then after doing English and debate team, were you on debate team?
I was. Our debate team wasn't any good, but I got that experience.
Yeah. And so that led you into law.
Yes.
That's amazing. So I know it's a huge undertaking to go to law school, to pass the bar and all that. So what were the things that helped drive you through all those challenges that allowed you to kind of go through that and to really make it into becoming a lawyer?
Well, I had a bit of when you talk to anyone who decided to go to law school, everyone's journeys are so different. In my graduating class, I had people who were in their 40s, people who had children, people who had just gotten married, people like me who had gone straight through. I think in the class below me, there was a gentleman who was 75 years old who was studying to become a lawyer. And I don't know, for me, I've always been very academics driven. I just genuinely enjoyed learning about the law. I took some undergrad courses that were pre-law and enjoyed those. And I don't know, I think once I made up my mind, I'm very just kind of tunnel vision when it comes to a goal. And once I'd made up my mind to go to law school, it was kind of just full speed ahead until I got everything done.
Well, that seems like a very good personality trait to have in an attorney, where you focus your tunnel vision on your goal and then you're tenacious and diligent, and you work faithfully to get to that goal. And
Yeah.
it's definitely something that I would want an attorney representing me.
I will say that although I was very forward thinking, I did still take a break in between undergrad and law school. I took a 1-year hiatus from school, and I used that time to study for the LSAT, and I used that time to, work on applications, and I volunteered, I worked a part-time job, that kind of thing. But yeah, I would super recommend taking a year off in between undergrad and law school if that's a possibility.
Yeah, I imagine that it helped you kind of reset and recalibrate.
I was so burnt out from undergrad, for sure.
Yes. Okay, so you went ahead and you got your law license.
Mm-hmm.
First of all, in your journey, so what was next for you right after that? So you graduate and you pass the bar.
Yes.
So then what did you do after that? What was your journey there?
So I moved to Houston pretty much immediately after graduating, or after I took the bar. And I had been hired by a different law firm after doing an internship with them in between my 2L and 3L year. So they hired me for a position. I went to work for them. Wasn't really like a good fit for me. We were doing insurance defense and professional liability defense, which is any civil defense is kind of a glorified insurance defense. And that kind of just, ended up not aligning with where I saw myself. Like I said earlier, I wanted to come into this profession to help people, and I didn't really feel like that's what I was doing. So luckily, I found out through a mutual friend of mine and associate Kayvon Husseini's that Daly Black was hiring. So I sent in my application, and now I am a personal injury attorney, which I am so much happier to be doing.
Yeah, well, we're very glad to have you. I'm glad. So how did you know Kayvon?
So we have a mutual friend. Her name is Hannah. She works at Roberts, Markel, Weinberg, Butler, Haley, which is where Kayvon was working at before he was working here.
Got it.
And so I told her that I was looking for a new job, and she recommended me Daly & Black, and she recommended Daly & Black me.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Thank you, Hannah. Thank you so much.
Yes, thanks, Hannah.
Yeah, we appreciate that. So now you're here. You're a personal injury attorney. Tell me a little bit about your experience transitioning into the personal injury side of law, and some of the things that you've learned, and some of the maybe the good things you like about it, maybe some of the things that maybe you don't like so much about it. I just want to learn more about what that means for an attorney to kind of jump from one area of law into a different area.
Right. Like I said, really love being a personal injury attorney. I like that there's more one-on-one communication with me and my clients as opposed to having to go through an insurance rep. There is a lot when it comes to personal injury, and I think just any field in general, that is very field specific. So the learning curve was a bit, not super steep, but a bit steep when I first started working here. There's a lot of procedural paperwork that needs to be sent out, to medical providers. When we take on a new client, we send something out called a letter of representation to their insurance company, and if, like in the instance of a moving vehicle accident, we send a letter of representation to the defendant's insurance company. Little things like that where I knew all the steps, in filing a case and getting discovery started and taking depositions, but kind of the behind the scenes things were what was difficult for me at first to learn. But through both Andrew and Kayvon teaching me and kind of just osmosis learning, I would say I'm pretty much caught up.
That's very good. Yeah, and it seems interesting, just the different nuances between how an attorney and a client work together based on what kind of case it is, what kind of matter it is, right? So, like you said, you have a direct line to your clients now,
Yes.
versus kind of going through intermediaries, which I imagine just kind of has a little less of that personal touch.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
So, me, I'm just like a dumb marketer. Like I'm not a lawyer. And I'm also not an academic. I went to college, but I'm glad it's done. So for me, the way I kind of frame a lot of the clients, or all the clients that we take at Daly Black, is that they're all victims in one way or another. So when you're dealing with personal injury cases, you're dealing with people that have been injured, hurt, victimized in one way or another, and you're trying to help them get back to as normal as possible.
Yes.
What are some of the, I guess, more like emotional kind of stressors, and how do you deal with that when you have clients every single day who have been harmed and hurt, and then you're having to help sift through the pieces of their life and try to help them put that back together? I imagine there's a lot of an emotional toll that can be taken in one form or another. And how do you kind of deal with that, really trying to empathize with all these different people that have been hurt?
Right. Well, I think I had the opposite problem when I first started. Is I think I would empathize too much with the clients, where, I mean, of course you can't ever be too empathetic, but I would, get off the phone with a client and just absolutely feel the pain, that they were conveying to me on the phone, and it would, I'd have to like kind of pick myself up again and get back to work. I have a few clients who are assault victims, sexual assault, and even a few clients who were in a car accident, but are kind of just very nervous now to get behind the wheel, or they dealt with a very problematic defendant, or someone, they're scared or anxious about their finances or how this is going to turn out. And I found talking to clients and soothing their fears and kind of getting their expectations up to speed and seeing how they're doing is probably one of the more difficult parts of my job, and one that I've had to get used to more than I expected. That being said, I find that this line of work, personal injury, is extremely rewarding for that reason also. And I've just, gotten better at growing a bit of a tougher skin, while still, being the person that is helping these people.
Yeah. It kind of reminds me of back when I used to be a personal trainer. I did that through college. And, on its face, I'm just helping people with whatever fitness goals they have. And it is what it is. But when you actually get into the job, I became more of a therapist than I was even a trainer at times. Because you build a connection with people. And some of the people I worked with were injured. A couple people were cancer survivors and were trying to rebuild after chemo.
Wow, yeah.
A woman who was in a wheelchair and couldn't get access to the machines, so I would have to help tailor things around her not being able to use her legs. But then through those experiences, while I took on their emotions, I was able to help them. And like you just said, like it became the most rewarding part about that time of my life was not money I made or anything else. It was actually being able to help these people through all these different variety of issues in their life that could have nothing to do with fitness or health. And I found that to be probably one of the biggest reasons that I stayed working in that arena as long as I did, because I really found value in that. And I could just see how that could be, especially with personal injury. I mean, we do first party here as well, where people's whole businesses or their homes are completely destroyed and their life is in chaos, and being able to step in and advocate for them really satisfies that deeper kind of need to be a positive force in the world. And so I appreciate that you're here, and I also appreciate that you have that perspective, because I think a lot of people, when they think of attorneys, they don't necessarily think of that side of what an attorney does.
Right.
They only really think about the results. Obviously, we're going to care about results, but here we want to care about the people that we're helping, our clients. and that's really important. So let's shift a little bit away from work and let's get a little loose. Let's have some fun. So tell me about what are some of your hobbies? What do you do in your off time? How do you unwind and let your hair down?
Well, I have a lot of hobbies. Some are, I participate in more than others, but I'd say my primary hobby is probably painting. I'm a painter. Mostly acrylics, some oil, a little bit of watercolor. I've recently tried to get into digital art. So, Procreate, the software. I mostly do portraits, but I'm starting to kind of expand my horizons and do some landscapes, although I don't really like doing landscapes. I think they're boring. But yeah, I also like to cook and bake. I like trying new recipes. What else? I used to be a really big runner. That's kind of, I'm trying to get back into it. Haven't been super successful, but we're getting there. And I'm also kind of a big nerd. Every other week, I get on Zoom with some of my law school friends and we play Dungeons and Dragons.
That's awesome.
Yeah, so we just had that this past Sunday. And yeah.
Oh, that sounds really interesting. I love that. I would love to see some of your paintings.
Yeah.
Is there any opportunity that you would take a picture or bring one in or something where I could see that and maybe even show it on the show?
Yeah, definitely. I also have an art Instagram account, although I haven't posted on it in quite a while. But it's Mia.artdiary.
Okay. Well, definitely check it out. Hey, and everyone here, check it out. Do you sell your art?
I have sold it in the past.
Okay.
So I wouldn't say I paint a lot and sell those paintings. It's kind of more so I paint when I want to. I post it, and if anyone wants to buy it, I'll sell it.
Okay.
Yeah. I've taken commissions in the past when I was in college and wanted a little bit of extra money, but I haven't really done that in a while. But, I mean, if you have something in mind and really want it executed, we could work something out.
I might have to take you up on that. That's great. All right, so one more question about your hobbies. So cooking, what's your favorite dish to cook?
Oh, well, I'd say my specialty are my enchiladas suizas. So those are green enchiladas with chicken inside, just a super comfort meal of mine that I've loved since I was a kid and learned how to make it while I was in law school, actually. And now that's the meal I make whenever I want to impress someone with my cooking.
Nice. That sounds delicious. We'll have to try that one day as well. So you've been here. When did you start here at Daly Black?
I started at the beginning of May.
Okay. So you've been here going on
5 months, 6
5
months?
months, 6 months,
Yeah.
now about a half a year. So since you've been here, give me one story that stands out as like, what you think of when you think of your time here at Daly Black. It can be anything.
Okay. What would you say if you were asked the question?
My story. All right. So I've been here going on 3 years. I've got a lot of stories. I think one of the stories that stands out the most for me would be my first month working here. I didn't know anything about the industry that we were working in with first party, per se. Like, I didn't have a lot of information. And in that first month, we had a conference, and I had to plan the conference booth, and I had to plan an after party at Rick Daly's house. And so the pressure was enormous.
Yeah.
And the first day of the conference, my fellow coworker who was supposed to work with me called in sick. So not only did I go to a conference where I was pretty new, but I was by myself.
Oh, wow.
And so that kind of is just ingrained in my head as just like this moment in time where I felt completely overwhelmed and then also alone. And I worked through it, got through it. Everything was a major success. The party at Rick's was a huge success. The event was great. We still have people talking about our booth to this day. So I'm proud of that, but it was also one of probably the more stressful times in my career.
Oh, I'm sure.
Joining a law firm, and then within the first month having this event, and then also doing it by myself. So that was probably one of the standout moments for me here working.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, I think I have a story.
Okay.
All right, so probably within the first month that I was working here, I actually got licensed to practice while I was working here, like fully licensed. And I remember the day that I was ready to be sworn in, I also was going to the Montgomery County Courthouse to argue a motion to compel arbitration with Kayvon and Andrew. Well, it was just Kayvon. Andrew decided to jump in the car and go with us for moral support. And I took my, you have to sign an oath basically and turn that in, and that's when you're officially licensed, right? And can do all of the lawyer things. And so we got there a little early so that I could be sworn in right before we argued that motion to compel. And I just remember Andrew like getting down on his knees and like taking videos and photos like a mom, and Kayvon too clapping. So that, I feel like that just epitomizes the dynamic of our team. It's big family, and yeah, that was my first experience in front of a judge. So
that's
pretty great.
Yeah, that sounds like a really great story. And like you said, it's like that team. Mm-hmm. That team vibe that we try to bring here, especially, with Andrew and Kayvon. Those guys are fantastic, and, almost like welcoming you into the family. It's like
exactly.
Proud parents, like, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So I love that story. That sounds amazing. So we're going to wrap up here in a minute. We're not going to take too much time because I know you're busy. Can you recall any kind of stories from a client that you've worked with here at Daly Black that really touched you in a more personal way, or like spoke to you in a different way?
Yeah, absolutely. I have a client right now who she was in a motor vehicle accident. She has been, she's younger. She's a little bit younger than myself. It was her first accident, first lawsuit she's ever been part of. And she's just been very anxious, very nervous. And the driver that hit her, got out of his car. He was refuting liability, kind of like yelling at her and stuff. She's just been very anxious to get behind the wheel again. And, for personal reasons, she's also just apprehensive around men. And she has expressed to me several times that every time she calls us, she just feels very appeased and at ease whenever she talks to me or my paralegal, Anna Karen, or Priscilla, our case manager. She just says everyone here treats her with the utmost respect, even when she's voicing her anxieties or concerns, and she says that she feels very safe talking to us. And she loves that we employ lots of women.
We do.
Yeah, so we have most of the PI team is women. We have 2 attorneys who are men, and that's about it.
Yeah.
So she really likes that, and I've had other clients who were victims of sexual assault and are now pursuing a civil case. Also express that they appreciate the way we handle sensitive cases and, treat them kindly and with respect, and respect their desires to, have a female attorney, female staff working on their case. So
yeah, that's a great point. And that's something that, I didn't really consider necessarily, but that is definitely something I could see, giving someone with that anxiety and maybe some fear, giving them a little bit more peace or feeling a little bit safer because they're able to share these kind of deep, intimate feelings and experiences with you and with your team, and knowing that, hey, these are, smart, tenacious, diligent, hardworking women who are helping me because they can kind of relate to how I could be feeling, and that's pretty big. I love that. So I think that's a great punctuation to this Meet the Team. Once again, thank you so much, Mia, for joining me on the podcast. I really appreciate you, and I can't wait to bring you on to talk a little bit more, and we can dive into some more legal topics and maybe into some more case studies and things like that, where we can help people get a better understanding of what our lawyers do here, why they do it, and then who we help, because I think that's going to be important.
Great. I'd be happy to.
Thank you again.